Welcome back to Game 2 of Cloud9 versus Team WE. Cloud9 have chosen blue side to kick things off this game, and we had a lot of expectations, gentlemen, coming into this one, and I think we destroyed almost all of them.
Yeah, well, one of the expectations is that this series was going to be good. And first game was very entertaining. And once again, I do want to highlight Sneaky's work in that game. 1,781 damage per minute in the loss. That is a world's record, but two very crucial deaths that ended up preventing them from achieving victory.
I mean, Prey blew our mind with his Varus in the group stage, and somehow it's beaten twice as recently as yesterday, and now Sneaky today. Both those most recent ones were, of course, losses for the AD carries, putting out the big damage numbers. And I love your first point, because this was definitely the series where, even with all the prep, I was like, I know this series will be great, but I couldn't put my finger on how. That was certainly not going to be in my top 5 scenarios for how the game would play out with all the Revol reversals, with the 50-plus minute epic. But it makes me so excited to see what happens now that C9 have chosen blue sides. We will be swapping sides and what their take on the draft is. But maybe even more interestingly, do WE just opt into scaling in the face of what they saw in Game 1? Because everything lined up for WE at 20 minutes. If that didn't happen, if that critical engage by 957 didn't happen, this could have been a different game.
Yeah, and I mean, even just looking at the way Team WE is approaching this game, you wonder how much pressure they are under, because they are in front of the home crowd. RNG has already made it into the semifinals, and they very much wanted to be a two Chinese team in the semifinal scenario. In Game 1, they played with all of that confidence in themselves, that they would be able to outscale. At the end of the day, they technically did, but I wonder if that confidence is shaken coming into the second
And
round.
the home crowd factor has to be talked about. WE are the sleeping giants, it's the lion you hear, but WE were the original premier Chinese organization. This team had basically all of the fan base the same way that TSM and CLG dominated fan bases right at the infancy of the NA scene. They have not been at Worlds since Cloud9 first went to Worlds in 2013. It was 2012 the last time they were at Worlds. They maintained a lot of their fan base even though people followed pros, followed Clear Love in the same way that, say, fans went from CLG to TSM when Double Lift left that org. They still maintained the majority of their fan base. So the fans here are expectant. They would not have been happy with anything other than the result from Game 1, and they are heavily expected to represent their home region proudly in this tournament.
Exactly. We even see some of the largest LED signs supporting Team WE here. Such a massive fan base, but now we're into picks and bans for Game 2.
I mean, I walked out maybe an hour before, and those signs were already up. So people have certainly been setting things up here for WE, but we'll see what happens here as Cloud9 are on the blue side. They had a surprise for us on the red side in game number 1, but we'll see what changes here with Lulu Galio already being banned away.
Yeah, well, they're trying to force a Janna ban with that Lulu ban right off the bat. And then they're also making sure that if they do first pick Janna, they don't give over Galio. So this is a fairly standard blue side draft phase, even if the draft from last game was a little bit different.
We saw EDG crib notes from WE when they almost qualified for the knockout stage last day of groups last week. I thought maybe would they leave open the Janna and answer with the Soraka, which is of course what RNG were doing yesterday, but they're going to take away the edge meta supports and at least ban away the Invoke support. So that does mean there's going to be more open. The Xayah, for example, that was heavily contested in the previous game is available so far.
Yeah, and then now, which is the ban going to be? I feel like if you're in the position where you have to give over either Xayah or Tristana, you don't ban either, and you make it a trade scenario. And that also de-emphasizes the first pick priority of either Tristana or Xayah. So I'm really curious what C9 ends up going with.
Sneaky has been firmly on the Xayah train at World, specifically in the group stage, has been taking it over a lot of other priority picks went up, but the tournament meta ends up superseding. This is very much a recent thing where Tristana first pick is becoming eerily normal.
And I've been waiting for this pick for a while, and I'm actually very surprised that C9 went with Tristana, because in all of the games where we have had Tristana first pick, we've seen a Xayah ban. And bans are supposed to be better than the things that you are first picking, but C9 opts otherwise, and that does mean a lot of stuff is going to be going over to Team W here.
And Mystic, usually happy to take the Xayah, actually will retake.
If he just wants Kog'Maw.
Kog'Maw, yeah.
That's a Mystic thing. It's something that he would first pick in the LPL. They want to be able to carry with that pick, and they're just going to do it again.
It's one of those surreal knife's edge where you look at Cloud9 and the fact that until the previous game, they basically won after 10 minutes with a gold lead or lost, and you say, okay, well, of course we need to reinforce our early game. We don't want to get run over. If you're a defensive mindset team, which is WE pre-Worlds 2017, you say, let's outlast them. Will it be to the same degree of greed? We are not sure, but WE seem to be trying to outlast once again.
And I'm so glad Cloud9 did it. I like the Sejuani pick for WE, but they take the Java and they steal the Tarek.
Immediately. They took that as fast as they possibly could. That's kind of Ardent support number 4, and Karma is Ardent support number 5, unless you want to flex to something like Sona or Soraka. Karma, by far the most common version.
And I want to note that one of the things I thought about with Cloud9's play is they're playing with an invading jungler. Why is there no Thresh? Why is there no Engage? Why has it been only Jana Lulu from Smoothie? Smoothie 7-1 on the Blitz in summer season. He's 5-0 Tarek. He's actually freshly undefeated since summer started on this particular pick. He was the first big Tarek from NA that I noticed when I was starting to see the pick come into the league and come into all the regions at the same time. So I'm happy to see a bit more playmaking. It's still an Ardent support, but a bit more playmaking available for Smoothie.
Well, there's a Narban for WE, so again, I don't think either top laner really wants to give this champion away. Very good in so many of these kind of tanky matchups that we see. Even though Impact did have a nice game on the Shen versus the Shogath, WE going to cut one of his options away.
And Shogath, both available so far. Does WE try to swing the pendulum for a ban? We know that 957 will confidently take the Shen himself if it's available.
Both of the top laners have held Shen poses in their player pictures.
Yep.
Very comfortable on that pick. And the fact that they're banning Shen, I think, even more sets up the Cho'Gath pick if they want to just get that giant front line in there one more time and take it to late game, so to speak.
Base spin for C9. Cho'Gath, the next one this time, not Lucian though, so kind of makes sense. We'll see what WE do here. Do they just kind of take the tank? Again, big frontline Sejuani is always good, so have an extra one perhaps, or maybe Rumble, another thing we've seen from the Chinese teams. Maybe not good here, given the current texture, but WE have kind of a lot to answer here in just one pick.
The top lane tank and bruiser pool has been shrunken considerably with these bans. We've seen so many variations of Shen, Shogath, Gnar, and also Maokai. You wondered if that was going to be a priority pick, and who would be willing to do it. I know C9 has taken Nautilus as well into the Maokai, so they're not going to have too big of a jump on it. They have to make no choices.
I'm surprised that WE actually chose to blind the mid lane here. They had the Karma flex pick if they just wanted to lock into a tank, but I feel like they're leaving their options open to pivot with, say, a Rumble as a last pick if the comp allows it, or get at least a comfortable laning matchup. 957 has been on tanks, or he's been on the Rumblers. That's a singed potential blind pick being considered here.
You thought Corky was bold.
All right. And this is Impact, one of his famous picks way back when SKT was
Well, when you bring out the Basil and you bring out the Sin, you just think that they're trolling. So, we have been obviously not seeing that much of Sin, but we have been talking about it a little bit backstage. And as far as champions who can build MR against a single damage profile, Singe will be one of those picks. And Orianna into Corki is a fine matchup for Jensen.
The moment that I first met Impact, when he was already on C9, I talked about, where is the Singed? You are the famous SKT Singed player. He hasn't played it in so long, but this is such a throwback. Literally a 2013 throwback from Impact.
And now, 957 doesn't want to play Maokai. It's not a good pick into Singe. Singe absolutely destroys that pick.
How do you feel right now, Chad?
I feel like 957 should have played Kled. He should have played something that can change the damage profile, but he's so far off meta. They've been thinking about the front line that they need, and they go with the Maokai.
Okay, but let's take a step back. If he picked the Kled, you would expect jungle attention, and 957 has had the lowest jungle proximity since group stages started of any top laner. This is WE saying, like it or lump it, we're not going to go near your lane. We are not going to help you out. We are focused on getting Kog'Maw specifically through the laning phase. And sorry, you're going to have to deal with Maokai as against a Singe.
They blind picked it.
We had a Fizz and a Singed blind pick at Worlds 2017.
I mean, you said it. What was left? That's the thing, right? Like,
more than just Sin.
C9 wonderfully navigated this draft and was like, we think they're going to pick a tank based on what they like to play. Reaper's like, hit him with the Singed Impact. It's a blocker pick.
This is going to be a really interesting game at this point because there is a heavily magic damage focused profile for Team WE, and Singe will get that adaptive helm and the Abyssal Mask very early on into this game.
I think almost freaking out. He was rapidly telling his team what's going on. The ref had to tap him on the shoulder, say, go shake Reaper's head. Reaper's already standing there just being like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Let's get this game going.
Cloud9 clearly have thought about this series a lot. 2 picks they have held the entire time. We talk about mid-worlds or mid-series adaptation. Cloud9 said they had barely scrimmed the Caitlyn before pulling it out against AHQ for that clinching game. And they were pushed to the brink. They went 3-3 in group stage. So we're living with the possibility that they may have prepped not only the Aurelion Sol, but also the Singed in the last week, just so they could pull it out against Team WE.
In a world where bot lane is king, it is C9 solo laners that are giving us the surprise every game so far. C9, they found a lead in game 1, but could not convert in a very close set. WE, this is the team that I think always toes the line. They know how they want to play. We'll see what happens this time, though.
And for C9 fans, I think it means so much that game 1 was so hyper-prepared, that it was so close to winning, because a year ago, they walked in as NA's last home against Samsung Galaxy and were blown out of the water. It was about as one-sided a best of 5 as there could ever be. And yet here, they were close. They were so close to winning in game 1. And they're showing us new upon new to try and get a big impression here in game 2.
Exactly. In game 1, with Sneaky doing nearly 1,800 damage per minute and setting a world's all-time record with that stat, it's in contrast to their series score. His series score in last year's quarterfinal was 1 kill and 16 deaths.
Smoothie did not help him out either.
Was 0 kills and 11 deaths. Combined, their bottom lane was 1 and 27. That was much different last game. They are playing at a much higher level. Also thinking about C9 in the grand scheme of things. 4th quarterfinal appearance at Worlds. The 3 times they have been there prior, they have been eliminated on those quarterfinals, only ever winning 2 total games across those 3 years. They're trying to make good on that, and they haven't gotten that win yet. This game will really tell us about the direction of C9.
And Impact already hanging out. He didn't quite tag away from behind the turret, but he's going to meet it nice and early.
Notice that he doesn't actually use poison gas at all so far. He does not want to start pushing the lane just yet. He wants to get a bit more information. Maokai hasn't shown, so he'll now start pushing.
And I want to emphasize that Singed, when you play it, is actually a counter pick to the Maokai. One of the main ways that Maokai can sustain in the lane is through his Sap Magic passive, where he heals on auto attacks. That cooldown is reduced, but not by Singed, because he just runs and doesn't actually have to cast spells near him.
And the counter pick is especially true in competitive play because, of course, the play you do is with the proxy, the ability to get lane control, get behind the lane and push him in, force Maokai under turret, and then the teleport plays that Maokai wants to make gets so much more tricky.
I will say that was the old Maokai charged with enemy spellcast. The current Maokai charges with his own spellcast, but it is still incredibly difficult for him to ever get the damage profile to take down.
And again, just the lane pattern is Maokai under turret, stuck there, nothing he can do, largely helpless. And again, if you follow previous games, Condi's not going anywhere near that top lane with his less than 3% jungle proximity.
Yes, who is though? Contract's already on that side of the map, cleared out almost fully though by Condi. So we'll see what he does want to do here. And again, back to the bot lane. Mystic playing up an aggressive sneaky tag by Q. And who's here but Condi?
Yeah, and the Karma can shove in the Taric early on the lane phase. So even though the Kog'Maw you wouldn't think is an advantage matchup against the Trist, it's the duo lane. And the fact that they got the support counter pick, so to speak, by picking Karma into Taric gives them the ability to pressure this bottom side.
Well, it's very predictable that even their top side focus would return to the vertical jungling that only helped C9 the last.
Consider a dive if they really wanted to.
Big group wave, like you say.
It's actually just going in on Xie. Xie forced out very quickly.
Just a single auto there. Wouldn't have been kill range, but good sign for C9 as mid lane's become the most isolated lane recently until Contracts makes his first visit to the mid lane side.
Jensen has been lethal on Orianna this year, but the pick is
okay.
Chesh is here for a counter.
Yep, looking for a Contract, trying to fill something up, knock up. Oh, last follow! Contract wants it! He's one more, last body will interrupt, and Contract, he does grab first one. Jensen gonna try and escort his jungler to safety. Shield do land in, and he may get away here. Flag drags out.
Amazingly close fight right there. Jensen was waiting on his shield cooldown to save Contracts, but specifically the flash follow on the flag and drag to secure that kill.
Sejuani was rolling into the picture like something from Jaws to turn around the turret dive, but the flash over the Thunderlord squad, just enough damage, the cooldown coming back, it all lined up, but it was just barely the right move.
Thunderlord certainly helping out as Contract with a very nice dive. We'll watch this one again.
Remember, we have the mini-map. We know Sejuani's on the way. Contract shows himself now to Xie. Sejuani wants to get there as fast as possible. They pull the trigger here. Nice flash from Contracts as well.
Perfectly followed him around the corner, but then actually autos the wrong target after Condi hits him. Makes you put the first blood into question, but the cooldowns come back up and they make it alive.
Well, Jensen actually building a nice lane lead as well. Xie did teleport back to the lane, but NCS down and maybe counting. With the way that Jensen's been playing the lane, certainly have to be careful.
Yeah, and Jensen's brought Cleanse into this matchup, which is mainly to prevent himself from getting caught up on Maokai and Sejuani in the late game. It does nothing for his lane phase up against Corki. He's not gone with the heal or the barrier that you often see out of the Orianna. So the fact that he's pressured so much with that Cleanse and not having that really great 1v1 defensive summoner in his back pocket does speak to how good Jensen is on this player.
I would like to talk about how, once again, we've had early vertical jungler that looks like it's probably going to be a ban, probably going to be a bit more even distribution. What I like is that with their pressure on top, Impact Invader put down one ward. They also had a second ward in the enemy red side, whereas Sejuani, when she was vertical jungler on the bot side, couldn't get any lasting vision. So they're getting a turret dive, they're getting deep vision, and they're also being able to pick up the momentum. So seeing C9 just once again capitalize on their game plan since groups, the proactive jungle moves. They're doing it better than WE, and the reward so far is first blood.
Yeah, and the control in the mid lane is huge right now. Jensen's level 6 with a 23 CS lead after she has already teleported
He's still got
back
his
in the
plans,
lane.
flash off, he's happy to overextend.
Yep, gonna go spend his gold though by the looks of things. Also had Contract to the left of him, so should be okay. Impact currently warding as Contract gets the ward down onto the truck, and again, Impact's pressure now translates here to the counter jungle successfully.
Okay, he has yet to poke 957 down, but he has now entered full proxy mode with the Corki's teleport being down. I feel like unless Corki disappears on the map or has package, Impact probably won't die in any 2v2 and can live back here.
This is another one of those situations where WE need to make a counter play on the map, because right now C9 are naturally winning and capitalizing on that lead top side. Condi predictably is jungling bot side, but the window to make the turret dive play that is always possible when one team is focusing so many resources top side is getting smaller, because Smoothie is at least on the way to level 6.
But this is also extremely dangerous for C9. There is teleport up on 957. Singe is also not in range to interrupt it, and Sejuani could come around the back if he so chose.
And the minion wave here is Ben off.
Gets the big frog and Smoothie. I thought the surveillance was good enough, but gets a bit extra off that gold lead. It looks like Sneaky's also
C9 just wants mid.
Yeah, Xie just forced off at
Red
3
buff
mid.
as well, remember?
Trying to take the turret. The 2 up now from WE, moving their Karma and their Sejuani towards the area. But again, with how far forward Impact is pushed in that top side, it's actually a very short trip to get to the back of mid lane.
And because of the natural pushing lanes here, specifically the Singe top, first foot forward is always Cloud9, but we do get the answering vision on the bot side. But no sort of tempo swing is available for WE, and C9 keep pushing forward.
And I really wonder when Team W is going to make a play around the bottom side, because they've given up so much pressure top side, but there is a Cloud Drake and a first turret that would juicily be sitting down there that they have yet to attack.
Yeah, Impact though maybe lining up a dive, at least gonna feint it, but walks back towards the wave and takes the proxy. And I kind of agree with you. C9, they're winning their top lane, they're winning their mid lane, and let's call it an even 2v2 in the bot lane. The CS there is even. Yes, Mystic is a strong player. He can get things going and make sure that he, can win lanes when he needs to. But all things considered, as we'll ignore that for now, as Impact, he's getting in there.
Feels like it's 2013 all over again. You always wonder with a Singe, which minion wave is too deep to try and dive into Jody Farm? It's so far behind the inner turret, not quite using the turrets yet.
Yeah, and it's a lot of early pressure for C9 that they need to be able to build on. They now have level 6 on Tarek, so this is where you expect them to start making plays. It looks like they're trying to break the mid turret as their first turret of the game.
Jensen not yet getting aggressive, somewhere threatening. It's Contract. Take the Raptor camp.
Like
another champion there.
And it's interesting, right? Team WE trying to defend this mid lane turret, because tempo-wise, the resiliency that the mid turret has is now gone since we're 9 minutes into the game. The fortification buff is off, so they're going to continue to control ward the top side of the map and use that to try and break the mid turret.
Getting mid turret will clearly allow them to continue to play super aggressive around topside, get the deep vision in, maybe Rift Herald will be an easy objective, but how they use Orianna after that can be interesting. She wants a short lane to farm largely, and lane turret going down would end that.
Bad look. Probably going to get stand up here. Where's the ulti actually? Might be alive. Cosmic Radiance is good enough. Smoothie stays safe.
So Smoothie ulti down, Smoothie healed down. That has all of their defensive tools off the table, and with the current tempo of the map. Team WWE should be able to take this one. Not sure why Sneaky's staying around.
He's blocking, Dazzle not enough though. Damage back to his band, Condy trying to take the ward down, but Sneaky letting it go.
Trying to buy time for his jungler to get back here and for the turret to stay up. It's already below half. Jarvan's far away.
Yeah, incredibly difficult to hold this turret. So WE does focus around the bottom side to get a lot of it down. Teleport, they want to dive.
Buster shot from Sneaky, disengages Mystic as WE are going to take it down. Good cancel from Chia actually, who was TPing in. And Mystic collects that juicy first turret gold.
That is the proper play for Team W. They also have the Cog on, who will be hitting Rage Blade relatively soon in the mid game, especially if he's able to go and get more free farms. So the fact that even though C9 was playing around that mid lane, around that top lane aggressively, that they didn't break those turrets means they have to break them soon if they want this to be.
The aggression isn't getting them the global gold, but it has got Singed to Haunting Guise, which is a very interesting first purchase here. Expecting Cal answering from 957, but already very offensive in the build. We're expecting Catalyst, we're expecting there to still be the Abyssal Mask. The order apparently is left up to the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, magic penetration is good on Singe because he does such a large amount of magic damage and gets a lot of base stats from his ultimate. So it is absolutely a defensible build, but we want the multiple Spectre's cows to come through in the late game. I just feel like Impact's not planning on interacting with so much later, so we can still damage.
Found each other. WWE already runs up to them. Are going to finally make the play. Turret is low. WWE can't really defend this safely. Sneaky has enough damage to take it down. The eventual trade, one outer, first gold for Mystic, but they do take mid outer.
They'll trade up. Mid lane turret is always take over a bot lane turret. Unfortunately, not to get the first turret gold, but really only thing that WE have to show for themselves.
Where does Jensen go to get this farm now? He wants to relatively be in a short lane. The cleanse will help him be much safer against Condy Sejuani in these fights, especially since he is so far in the he can threaten him off with his damages.
I mean, one small point we can say is he can play to the top side, play to all the control wards he has, play towards and a Rift Herald. That objective has now spawned. The bot side of the map, that's a little bit murkier for the Orianna, who, as I mentioned, is really good.
Well, they might go for it now. Cloud shield down.
Dive down, a good split from Impact. Jensen just needs to find the ulti. Wakes it up. Great flash from 957.
They still can think about going for the next one, but the longer they show through people out here, the more they're going to lose that inner turret down bottom.
He's also getting ganked, Mystic Man, and now Condy's doing the full contract. Does take out 957. Burns his flash to get out from under the turret. C9 should take this down, but WE going to get their spray. They take it tier 2 first.
They put everything into taking down the Malphite and turret. Could lose more than just one. We can't see the turret HP in mid. It has to be falling low to the Sheen Corki. They only now pick up outer top lane turret.
And
gold is even.
Exactly. They're probably going to lose it shortly because Team WE has the inside track to the mid lane. That is not a trade-up. You could argue that the top lane outer turret could be better than the tier 2 bottom unless the mid lane turret falls as well. Simple math, 2 is greater than 1.
Correct.
Team WE gets the advantage.
The whole game plan of C9 for the first 13 minutes was take down mid lane turret. They kept rotating through it, diving through it. So for them to have an answering turret there for WE really equalized the pressure, and if anything, gives WE a nose in front after C9 was proactive.
Despite, again, the surprises that have shown us in the draft so far, this game has certainly continued in a much more expected fashion. Sneaky and Smoothie trying to defend and stay safe, but all of the attempts for WE goes onto Mystic. So, in this kind of meta game, given now that the expected thing has happened, do C9 have enough in their solo management to pressure this game, or are WE just going to keep being WE?
Well, the precedent hasn't really been set when you have a Leandri's first item sit in the top lane as far as how the rest of this game is going to play out. Because if they do not kill that Singed, he will actually shred through a lot of people, no matter who he fights, but he will be squished at this stage of the game. So he's got to worry about that rage will compound sensor, as is always since he gets good magic.
Lots of phrases this tournament I didn't expect to say, like at 14 minutes, a Leandri Sins is helping take down a Rift Herald whose percentage damage, standard things in the 2017 Worlds meta. Rift Herald, like we mentioned, was likely to be a prize for C9 with all their pressure top side. And they still are top side as Ben might come and face check.
The biggest prize though is of course Mystic. Does have some on the chance to connect. CC United. But right after Roman Reagan couldn't send the fire. Does first to the back up. Keep taking seconds. It's real. Again, up as well, but here comes Jensen re-engaged inbound. Contacts in. 957 with a great off-speed smash back into the tackle. He's going to find the tank and that's going to be a kill.
You can see the squishiness of Impact actually hurting there. He flashed for a flip, which ended up being the last hit onto Mystic, but C9 ended up winning that fight by eventually getting everyone there and getting the jump onto Mystic in the first place.
Don't have minion waves pushing though, so it is only 2 kills for 1, and Jensen's gonna walk through the ult.
Summoners.
Oh, walks away. WWE just not enough there, despite the Trinity Force finished on Gia, who TP'd into that fight. A little too threatening again. He's had such a good leading phase.
Yeah, but another critical thing about that fight is the fact that Team WWE burned Flash on all of their carries, and C9 did not. So watch that Cataclysm cool down for Contracts, because they can combo that with the Shockwave in the next fight and make a big combo. So that's a big edge they'll have going into the next fight.
Gonna see the replay, and you mentioned, let's see some data points about what Leandri's first Sejuani can do in any sort of a fight. We're gonna see the replay. And Mystic takes a lot of damage, but actually the terrain stops Sneaky from getting autos on priority targets. Finally, the Cinch comes in, assassinates Kog'Maw, no other way to put it. Like you mentioned, he bolts.
Yeah, he flashed flip, but then he was in the middle of the entire Team WWE team and didn't have the Taric ultimate or the Taric shields to go hit him, and Jensen hadn't quite arrived there yet.
Small adaptations. You see that your enemy team has used their summons. They're going to want the group to minimize any of the chances of actually being caught out. Should have been a free Drake. It was taken during the replay. But the moment you have a massive summoner advantage, enemy team doesn't want to fight.
Impact might consider going a little aggressive depending on how he does his damage.
Well, Riftel takes care of the turret at least, so doesn't need to be there. KW is still going as Sneaky, forced away by Nature's Grasp. And WWE, they shred turrets at this point.
They're just playing PvE. They're going focused on the turret. Jensen's going to come in, but the turret's already dead.
So you might have to be the one to make it happen. No real engage to help Oriana get in there for the dazzle. 5-2. Ulti pop by Smoothie, but it's defensive. He's already quite low. Slow. He's going to connect the stun. Goes there as well. And Mystic snipes him the living artillery. WWE will not use their turret as contact. He makes play in Jensen. He's so late. He just can't get in range for his ulti. But, oh, yes! Goes down. Quarterfinals falls for WWE.
Timing for C9 has been a little bit off, but you could see the idea of the play for C9. They end up losing that fight in the grand scheme of things, 2 for 2, and losing their turret.
But after the surprising nature, the twists and turns of Game 1, I think Game 2 has been quintessential WE at Worlds 2017 versus C9, specifically WE. Whenever their laners, specifically Mystic, breaks the turret early or even lose the turret, they always go and group with support, AD carry, and try and just barrel down objectives, get the immediate gold. They barreled down here, and Smoothie had to ult so early.
And it was a 3v4 when they've stepped up to that turret with the Jensen flank. Jensen would need to go with Contracts early on for that to matter, because what they probably said in comms, no flashes on the support and AD carry, get him in Cataclysm. They did it, it worked in the end, but it was way too disorganized in the initiation.
And I just feel that opting into these trades where you're getting immediate gold onto Mystic, he's got a kill, he's been involved in the 5 turrets, of course, means that he's hitting his power spikes a lot earlier, predictably, of course, than Game 1. And this is WE playing their game plan, whereas C9 splitting the map and not getting the same sort of objective lead that perhaps the dirty farming Singe in the early game may have suggested they could have won.
And despite the attractive scoreline for Sneaky, he's still almost 1,000 gold behind Mystic thanks to a very large CS deficit. So again, such a great struggle of power here between the two teams. Soul ends up for C9, but Mystic up for WE, and you almost always put money on WE when that happens.
And this is how the gold graph always looks. Doesn't matter if 3 people are down, if Mystic is ahead. Concentrated power on a soon-to-be a Relic Shield 2-item Kog'Maw. It's just fine for WE. They want to fight.
Good job. Get out, actually, a little bit by Condi. Sneaky lost the shot early. He's dead, trapped in, and Mystic. Oh, look, he got the last kill.
Condi played that perfectly, interrupted the jump mid-air with the stun, and also moved in an area where the knockback wouldn't answer him. Just a pure outplay from Condi. Great stuff from him. Going to take the jungle as well, and Sneaky being off the map means that all map pressure goes to WE.
And you are seeing teams getting better at catching Tristana in rocket jump. The more we're
MLXG yesterday.
MLXG yesterday, Condi just now, and Mystic getting extremely ahead. That 60 CS advantage as well as the last hit on this kill. Let's watch this one more time.
Gets the stun up. Look when he uses it. Sit catches him in the air, and watch this Tristana wants to hold him away. Condi had already postured in front, so would of course keep the gap closed there. Perfect stuff. The Sejuani player there, and things now are starting to fall apart a little bit for C9.
Certainly in that bottom section of the map, Mystic 2 items now completed. Ruined's Hurricane once again the second. I think he's working on Fish, who's a little bit far behind, although Impact is making a go of this.
Yeah, he's got a large experience advantage on 957, but with the Spectre's Cal on any tank, you're generally living for a fairly long time. Let's see if Impact can get away from this large man.
The rest of the team is coming, and Connie still has ulti. Nature's Grass has to outplay one.
Run it.
Gonna keep running away. Oh my goodness, this goal.
And that's with Baron spawning. Everyone showed she can scout this, and they can teleport in, but how much does C9 want to commit, knowing that WE showed everyone down bottom?
They have to burn it. Well, they are 957 recalls first. No, something further TP. WE decide not to contest.
You don't see Singe for a while, and what do you remember? Never chase that Singe, but the timer, Jack, the timer meant that the maximum punishment was available to C9.
How does that happen? A 20-minute respawn against an Ardent Sensor Terran. They chase Singe, and they put C9 back into this game.
Every time to fight as well, C9 can find the angle with Sneaky. Something that's not going to happen. Jet Snow with a good ultimate clip GA. Doesn't quite steal the kill though. But C9 again, despite still being behind in gold, despite Sneaky still leading farm. There'll be an Inferno to take in a minute, and with Baron, they need to do damage and equalize the turret difference.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Impact with just Mercury Treads and Rylai 7. He's got a lot of damage, but please, now you need to start building some more magic resist to deal with Mystic and Xie, because he can be such a force in these team fights with just an adaptive helm if he builds that as his almost lone tank item. Since C9 needs that teamfight power, so much of their farm is concentrated onto Impact. He's got an 800 gold on 957.
He also has a Baron buff, which, with given how fast Singe can push and the fact that he has this burn build complete with Rylai's and Leandri's, they're going to have to make very quick plays with the Maokai, otherwise they will have insane punishment in the side lane with how fast he pushes. It's a much more damaging Singe than you're used to when there's no mana items.
And I can't wait for this late game, because anything could happen depending on how Impact decides to play this game. C9 has good scaling with the Orianna and the Trish, but Team W has spectacular scaling with the Cogma and the Fox.
Ground on to Mystic, poking and coming through, and C9 trying to just take the turret down. Gets it with the ball, Connie might be running over the fight, but bringing it up. Who's to the front side? Gentle, Contract Zone, is it going to re-engage? Switch it! Oh no! Mystic, former team down, trying to save his here. Also low, Mystic, blocking up there as Impact just barely flips to the rest of the onslaught. Jensen, and they take down the tank line as Sneaky jumps in to finish the fight.
Cosmic Radiance landed on everyone, even Contracts barely on the AoE of that spell. That means they can just turn forward, brute force. They took off Baron, remember?
Mystic also burned both summoner spells once again. C9 playing this really confidently, knowing the recalls are there for Team W's carries.
One turret down, gonna make it two. Inhibitor also very vulnerable. Conti trying to do something on the back line, but he rejoins the team. Mystic though back in action.
Pretty greedy by C9.
Throws down. Pistol's good enough there for Xie. Now it's full retreat. Jensen, you know, ulti for a while. Sneaky forced to flash away. Throws back in. Tries to take down Xie. Oh, down. Mystic seals it.
With an Infernal Drake on the table, C9 tried to stick around to kill the inhibitor. That was straight up greedy.
Shockwave's almost back.
Finds it. Gets it. Oh my god. Contract double up and turn around again. Moody cuts away. Go! Jensen does Mystic once again. Still in debt. Mystic Tokyo does work. But now a 1v2. 957 back in contact. He flashes it into the waiting arm of 957. And all right, it's done. Yeah, Contract just gonna chill it out.
This game is decided by inches. That's now 2 kills I can remember that Mystic's final auto attack post-flash has given him a last hit. The turnaround by C9 there by the Shockwave, nearly massive, but both teams walk away. Infernal Drake still up.
It was such a deep teleport from the Maokai. 957 coming in with the home guards, looks for the target. The correct target is Deceptive. He goes on specifically to, I believe, the rocket jumping Justana, but the fact that the Cosmic Radiance hits everyone means to re-engage. It's huge.
And it's just a lethal combo with Orianna and Jarvan. Last game, so many people had a hard time getting past the front line. Orianna, Jarvan can bypass that. They then focus down 957, rocket jump forward. Impact narrowly missed his flash flip onto Xie's Corki, but then this is an overstay. Impact down on the flank, disrespecting Xie's burst.
They tried to greed for the inhibitors so early in the game, but it could mean free objectives in the future. Remember, this fight all ended with the Maokai backing. That's how long it was. It's WE in the picture-in-picture. Doom picked up the Inferno, which was expected to be the trade as that kind of pandemonium started.
Well, certainly we'll be happy with that given how late game 1 went. Only about 25 minutes into this one. And Baron will be respawning again in like a minute or two, I think, given that C9 took it basically on the dot. So once again, Baron buff dropped off. Next objective traded over to WE. Gold sitting at even as the teams scale up. C9, they do have an open inhibitor that they can attack. And Impact is going down to that bot side, so we'll see how C9 kind of play their next step.
Impact wants to kill him. It's going to be a 1v2. He's probably going to have to turn around.
And you're also flanking? Question mark? Not quite.
Some questionable map positions there by Impact. Actually really good positioning by Condi to cover Shie on that push. No jungle available, really just runs into the lane just in case.
I want to posit this to you, chap. Where the items are at right now in a 5v5 fight with no gold lead, to me the difference between a won fight and a lost fight for C9 is the Cosmic Radiance timing. Singed right now is a damage threat, does have situational tankiness with the ult, but the Cosmic Radiance allowing them to actually take the brunt of the early damage seems to me the difference. And we've had some great Taric play, we've had much more, I would say, questionable Taric play. They do have momentum, they can use the ult proactively, but to me, that's the sign.
And you also have to wonder how the team fights are going to play out, because 957 doesn't have the disengage after he initially goes in. Even though his teleport is up, that's the question. Can you fake the engage to get the Taric ultimate up? Because if they go in for the engage, Smoothie counters it with ultimate, and then their carries are still in range for a Cataclysm Shockwave combo, C9 has a huge advantage in those fights if it plays out like that, but it doesn't have to. WE can play a little bit of in and out, and when Mystics flashes up, it is all the more lethal.
Yeah, that's the timing when they probably feel like they can push out a little bit further. To me, that is the big factor, so they have at least one reset for the inevitable Cataclysm into Orianna Shockwave combo. That's time to push up.
Which actually onto Ben. Always good to take out the Arden if you can. Dazzle not angled quite enough as Ben blast turns off to safety. Impact does get a lot of work pushing down towards that side. And Contract pretty tanky with the adaptive helm, actually face tank Shie.
Yeah, when they can get multiple adaptive helms, it will be huge for them this game. It is very difficult for WE to break through the damage here. Also, Mystic was forced into a head shrinker because he doesn't want to get one shot by that Shockwave combo.
Well, good for C9. Actually equalize the turret difference finally as they take down the bot tier 2. Baron up in 13 seconds. Condi knows what that means. It's time to grab some vision.
And I heavily think that with the recurve, I was going to say Wit's End to get even more magic than this, but now they have already completed the Bilgewater, so I'm going to try and power through the Singe. The armor purchases are probably quite far away.
Yeah, I think so much of it does just have to do with lifesteal if they're expecting these to be long fights. There's a tank line that he's trying to cut through. The Wit's End will help reduce the magic resist, but just literally lifesteal is so important for Mystic to always be at full health. Full health plus a locket shield means the Shockwave probably doesn't kill him.
And I take that point well, because Ginsu's Rage, the Hurricane, so many different lifesteal appliers, you probably out lifesteal damage better than you actually reduce damage. Something like the Wit's End.
Mystic about to be spotted in top lane though in C9. That's probably their cue to retake vision around the Baron. Speed train is WE's. So they'll have some unsweepable vision for about 40 seconds. But again, Pink Ward's being placed. C9 looking like happy to force here despite the gold being even. They know their kind of timings have been hit pretty well. And for some fumbles in the early game, now looking very good in the mid.
You can see what sort of play pattern Sneaky wants to play. He's gone for QSS and delayed further damage because he wants to be able to take those extra autos with explosive rush and try to take turrets. But yeah, they're trying to rush Baron basically off spawn.
And this is with Mystic in base. That's why they're rushing, but they have to worry about the steal. It could just be a straight up 50-50.
That's yesterday.
Now they're going to pull off, looks for an engage. Contract has found one. Dazzle will hit. Move back into the team. 957 getting shredded down. Cosmic Radiance. See that continue to play. Mystic though does get out, flashes out to safety. 957 somehow lives. Impact getting shredded down by the rest of the mark. But then knock him on the bench to take him down. Sneaky still good as Impact still somehow alive. How did that even happen? Almost two dead on the side of WE.
957 has been starved of farms thanks to facing up against a Singe, so they actually have a ton of burst damage to get on him early. The question is, how do they turn back to Baron? The Taric Baron is insane. He heals everyone up with the Ardent Sensor and his Q.
Condi's going to have to go for heroic steals down to 4,000 already.
They don't even see it.
Late TP, Condi, feel it through, take it down, but now the fight could start off. Mystic, no flash, has to play aggressive. Impact, tries to move the rest of the team away. C9, track
is free hitting.
Tries to disengage. Sneaky, took down Condi, and now going to make it out to safety. actually keep going, Cloud9. I think they know they can make something happen here. Dazzle seems good, finds 957, stuns him up there.
Look on!
Oh my goodness, they caught Mystic Jensen, able to grab the shockwave and the assassination. Now Shea, the next to go down. Jensen with the crucial double kill.
Impact Singe drifts through the team to get into melee range of Kog'Maw and flip him back. Things you didn't expect to say today, Papa Smithy, is the theme. Huge play by C9 as they take Baron.
What I'm not surprised about, though, Jet, is the accuracy from Jensen on the shockwave. They have basically been targeted abilities. There was no information for Condi at this point. He comes in at perfect time, could not steal it. They have to kind of force the Price into a fight here on WE.
The guesswork by Condi was insane that it was even that close, but he doesn't get it, and then it's the fight that is sneaky on the side. Doesn't quite get focused, and WE is unable to actually select the right target, knowing they never got the last hit. And then the empowerment of the Taric as well as the Orianna emboldened Sneaky to run forward.
And just little things from Singe, like the brief grounded effect stopped the Porky from using the Valkyrie as early as he would have liked. Still taking off on the back end. This Singed pick is surprising WE in multiple ways. Even to start that whole passage, 957 with Flash Up thought he could walk up, threatened and engaged by space. He was flung into the team, and even the Flash couldn't get him out healthy.
And look, WE were not lacking for damage from their carries in that fight, but somehow in execution around a very tense Baron, it is C9 that come out on top.
And a blind pick Singe is the sort of thing that will annoy the hell out of the coach of WE. Owen will have to decide, do we have to ban it? If they're willing to blind pick it and we don't have a strategy for it, that might have to just be a permanent ban.
Yeah, and remember, it was blind picked after so many of the other top laners were banned away. Shogath was banned, Shen was banned, Gnar was banned. It felt like Maokai was the only pick left, and that's exactly what C9 got. They're going in!
Yeah, Mystic, no flash. They're just going to try and get a shot. Then Jensen assassinates Mystic just with the ultimate, and they break the bottom in him turret. C9 not done as Impact, looking for a flip. Maybe a little too far forward, but still, defense is there. He's actually so tanky with the help of his team, and 957 is not so lucky. Sneaky finds the next kill.
C9 might look to push this for the win. Tank line down, Mystic down. They're pushing.
Don't need Corky for wave clear.
Baron Buff still good. CA needs to play the defense of a lifetime to try and let this one happen. Condi trying to dive back in, but C9 peel away. He gets so sneaky. Oh, they take him down. Flash for crit. Does seal GA's death. And the next is open as Cloud9 tie it up. Gentlemen, we have a series.
Mixing the old with the new. Jensen's Orianna, probably his best pick this year. And then out of the blue, Impact Singed is something that Team WE is unable to deal with. The team fight coordination was a little bit lacking in game one. C9 found the combo here in game two.
They found the combo by pulling from the history book such a vintage pick from Impact from back on his SKT T1 Team 2 days. Not even T1K, not even the eventual SK Telecom they are today. He looks proud in the front, and he should be. They play around the Singe in team fights. Crazy to even say that sentence, but with Janna banned, they thought team fight Singe could work, and it worked a treat.
And the grins on their faces, they know what they just did. They just pulled out Singe after being down in a series against Team WE, and it worked wonderfully.
I mean, Impact played a champion he hasn't played in years. Jensen played a champion he has never played, and they almost took game one.
Yeah, but that also puts us in a position where you're wondering what's going to happen next game, because it is 1-1. Both of these games were very close for long periods of time until they were broken open by some big-time team fighting. So this is one hell of a series.
C9 clean it up, and they tie it up as well. Let's send it over to Dash and the analysts, though, to get their thoughts on how game two played out.
Heating up as we move to 1-1, as was mentioned, both games being incredibly close. But C9 does it with a Singed pick, and what I'm seeing here is innovation up against comfort out of WE.
Yeah, it's pretty much the Singe, the Aurelian Soul, all of these cool bags of tricks, these unique strategies that Cloud9 keep hitting them with, and Team W are like, yo, pick me Kog'Maw blind for the millionth time this year.
I miss us. But the Kog'Maw pick has been answered by Singed before. In the promotion tournament of the LCK, Singed into Kog'Maw has been a great one, especially with Flash, because as we saw, you just run at him with the Righteous Glory, you fling him into the back of your team, and it has more of an effect than any of the other tanks that currently engage into the carry. So I actually think it's a great pick that we might get to see more in this
And
series.
Kobe on the dive, you called it out. It was asked what would be the next out-of-meta pick, and you said Singed might be the one.
Singed was the first one because he had already been making a resurgence in Korean solo queue, and so many of the people were talking about, oh yeah, but in competitive, you know, you can't really split push that much. As my boy Crumbs here pointed out, with the flash onto an AD carry that doesn't have its own dash, they play around the flash cooldown really well. And as we said in the opening dash, Cloud9 are not a team to stagnate out on that stage. They're going to come back. They will not lose in the same fashion over and over.
And this is where we look at Reaper, right? Putting together such an intelligent draft because certain things had to fall into place from Team WE in order to enable that composition. You needed to have, you know, that confident Kog'Maw pick so that the Singed could follow up and abuse it, as well as the Taric and the Jarvan, which kind of give permission for the Singed to roll forward and ultimately hit that Orianna Shockwave rather and zero him out.
Yeah, I'm going to hit it a little bit harder. Reaper has frankly outdrafted Coach Home twice back-to-back in massive ways. The only reason Cloud9 didn't win game number 1 came down to an execution thing, but they've been blasting out of the gate every single time. And the thing is WE haven't shown anything. Yes, they were trying to go through this series just playing the same old composition. So the question is, do they now have innovation and adaptation? We've seen the Caitlyn pick from them, but we haven't really seen anything else.
Game 3 would be the time to bring that out in response to Cloud9. Before we get to Game 3, let's watch some team fights. The first one coming at 23 minutes in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this team fight starts with WE engaging onto a Baron up Cloud9. So already they're at a bit of a disadvantage, but they have the surprise factor. And look at the Taric ultimate. It gets popped right away. But the big key, the re-engage from Cloud9 is with contracts, the Cataclysm into the Shockwave. 1 millimeter any direction would not have connected that. And in the end, it just drags out so long. But because C9 is a little bit stronger here, they walk away victorious.
Multiple plays like that, though, that put Cloud9's teamwork on display, and the communication was much better in this game, much like it's been much better for us on the desk recently, and they were able to pull out these plays where they continually find the Kog'Maw and punish that flash.
And you can see Team WE trying to play around this. Again, C9, they have a beautiful engagement to take down the first tower, but then they just overreach slightly, to which Team WE will punish them straight into an Infernal Drake. So if they can eliminate those moments, then Cloud9 look better across the board.
And speaking of overreach, I felt like WE actually had a good grasp of the early game. They saw the Singed applying pressure, and instead of acknowledging the Singed, okay, let's go push the bottom side of the map. They continuously opted into better trades, and I felt like, okay, they know what Singed does, they'll handle it, except they forgot about the Teemo taunt that Singed has. They sent 4-man to bottom at 20 minutes, and so Cloud9 just gets bearing it.
The number one rule in League of Legends, you do not chase the Singed. If you're watching this and you don't know that, now you do, and you have no excuses. But you talk about Barons, there were a couple Barons in this game. The first one came early. The second one is our Acer Predator replay here for Game 2. C9 coming up big with the smite and the fight.
I mean, frankly, the greater sin was the fact that they chased Singed while the Baron went up, but this is actually the second one, and everyone's heart stopped. I saw Kobe clinch a little bit as Condi got into that pit, but in the end, Contracts finds the smite.
Yeah, against the son of Baron, you don't really want to go for these, but they managed to secure it. And in the end, you've got Tristana just taunting the Maokai. W me, I can rocket jump back in. You don't expect the Tristana to be the one to going forward, but Cloud9, they have numbers advantage.
It's back to that communication, though. The fact that Sneaky holds his W until the Taric stun is available, knowing that Smoothie's next to him, it's just orchestrated so well across the board.
And I have to say, Smoothie has been super underrated here because Olay, you know, kind of eclipsed him during the North American LCS summer, and so many awards were going his way, and it was all about initiation supports. Smoothie is such an adaptable AD carry. He's also stepping up in shot calling for the team. Excuse me, support.
ADC, support.
Who knows? Maybe he can play AD carry, and we still have 3 more games, ideally, to find that out. Could be another curveball that C9 decides to throw. Refocusing towards Game 3, though, as the series is all tied up. Again, the onus is on Team WE now, having just taken a blow to the face. They're moving back to blue side, what they won with the first time around. But again, from blue side, you claim that Reaper outdrafted them. So what's the answer? How can they preempt that kind of outdrafting once again?
If history tells us anything, it's going to be a priority over Janna. I hope that is not the case. I hope that they recognize how much Tristana has been a part of a lot of teams' victories, not just in this series, but also yesterday, and they start to change it up. If we see a Janna first pick go through, I'm pretty much done with this team.
Any other thoughts from you guys?
I want to keep on getting some unique picks here.
All right, so what's the next one?
Westrice is helping coach for Cloud9, so
Akali.
Akali maybe. They've also been practicing that in solo queue.
All right, well, there you have it. Up next, we have Game 3 of Cloud9 versus Team WE after the break. And before we go, while leading in damage can be oh so sweet, keep in mind that there are more ways to carry than stats can show. Here's an example from Sneaky and Meteos, former teammates who put the less than 3 in GG.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We doubled our coverage so you can stream Worlds in more places than ever before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.